Hello, welcome. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlemle. Our digital address, GA0992539. Our lead stories this hour. Former President John Mahama to concede, but sets forensic audit of election results as a precondition. He's been speaking 5 days after declaration of the results, which he has since rejected. You'll hear him shortly. Meanwhile, supporters of the NDC continue to protest the election results, demanding they are overturned. We have details as they target EC officers and the officers flee. Also, police is warning against such sporadic demonstrations. And public universities bill back on the floor for passage as university teachers continue to protest. We hear from some of them shortly. Still in this package, fire guards 8 shops consuming goods worth millions of cedis. We're live on the ground for details. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. I'm Gifty Andopia. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. Remember, we're streaming live on our social media handles, especially on YouTube. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. Welcome to the show. Let me take you through the details now. About 8 shops near the Metro Mass Bus Terminal at the Koforidua Central Business District have been razed by fire. Goods worth millions of cedis have been destroyed as owners looked on helplessly and asked the tears. The fire, which started on Tuesday morning, destroyed items including soaps, plastic material, jewelry, second-hand clothing, toiletries, among others. And the cause of fire is not yet known, but some neighboring shop owners believe it's an electrical fault that caused the fire. Maxwell Kudeko is our correspondent in the region. He's joining me on phone. Take a look, by the way. Some more details from the ground. Maxwell Kudeko is our correspondent. He's joining me live via Zoom. Hello, Maxwell.
Hello, Gifty.
Maxwell, do we know the extent of damage caused at this point? I believe the fire is no longer burning.
Well, the fire service were able to bring the fire under control in the morning. It is not clear the extent of damage, but 6 stores have been burnt into ashes. 2 additional stores were affected. The stores some of the stores deals in jewelries, others deal in toiletries. There's a boutique and one other second-hand clothing shop around. It is not readily available, the quantum or the worth that has been lost, but it is expected that it is running into millions of Ghana cedis. Most of these shop owners have gone to procure items for the Christmas, especially the jewelry shops, the boutiques, and the other stuff. So you can imagine that the cost would be very huge. It is also not clear what caused the fire, but shop owners or nearby shop owners claim that that particular shop has a peculiar electricity problem. The light most at times sparks fire, and once in a while they will call the electricity officials to come and have a look at it. But it seems that electrical fault has not been solved adequately. So this morning, we are told that there was a power surge on the main pole that connects to the store, and then the power sparked into one of the shop, and then it got a fire. But the electricity, the Ghana Fire Service officials got there in time. But by the time they got there, the fire had already caused devastation. Onlookers and other shop owners who were around helped initially in bringing the fire under control, but they couldn't. As I said, about 6 shops have been burnt into ashes. 2 other shops are also affected badly by this morning fire in Koforidua.
As we speak, I know that you've been speaking to the Assistant Divisional Officer in the area. What does he say?
Mostly when fire breaks, I mean, you hear a lot of people criticize the fire service for not attending to their call in time. So the same situation happened this morning. But he explained to me that the tender at the municipal office had problems. So when they got there, they needed to quickly rush to the regional office to mobilize one fire tender and then also get to the scene to quench the fire. So he ruled out any accusation of delay from the official from the Ghana National Fire Service. He says that investigations is still ongoing. The service cannot immediately say on authority what caused the fire. And then also they are still counting the losses. So it's going to be premature as of now to quantify the loss and then also authenticate the source of the fire. Okay. But he says that investigation is still ongoing by personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service, the New York South Municipality.
And before you go, Maxwell, have you been able to engage any of the owners of these shops that have been burnt down?
Well, a few of them wouldn't want to talk on camera. It's been tears since morning. Just as I reported, most of them had procured items for this Christmas. So the shock is still with them. It's very difficult to talk. But one person who is not heavily affected blamed the owners of the shop, the custodian, the assembly. And just as I said, most of them complain of electrical problem. It seems there have been extensions at most of the shops. So people have taken the law into their own hands and connecting electricity haphazardly. So they blame the authorities for not regularizing the connectivity at the shop. If this problem with electricity connectivity had been solved in the past, maybe they wouldn't have been here at this time. So it has been an issue of electricity and the negligence of the authority or owners of the shop to ensure that the facility is properly connected to electricity.
Maxwell, thank you very much. I'm sure that hopefully we'll be able to get the sense of what has been destroyed after we've spoken to those who own these shops, and the fire service will be able to tell us what they believe is the cause of the fire. And those are pictures that Maxwell brought in there, videos of the fire as it raged and burnt down shops of people. Now, there are growing nationwide protests of the results declared by the Electoral Commission on the just-ended polls. John Mahama and the NDC held a press conference to reiterate their rejection of what they deemed fraudulent results of the country's presidential and parliamentary elections, in which President Akufo-Addo was declared winner. The Electoral Commission, by the way, has rejected the description of the election as flawed. Already, supporters of the National Democratic Congress have protested in Ashaiman and Medina, and in some instances blocked roads, burned car tires as well. Take a look at the protest.
No Mahama, no Mahama, no peace. No Mahama, no peace. No Mahama, no peace. No peace. No peace. No peace. Oh, Bonyo, Ashawa. No peace. No peace. No peace. Apostle. peace. No peace. No peace. No peace. No peace.
People must see that the process has begun to activate justice. Because like I said, you cannot have peace without justice. And so if we want peace, Peace Council is looking for peace, Christian Council is looking for peace, Muslim councils, Ghana Catholic Bishops Council, all the institutions, Ghana Bar Association, the judiciary, all the institutions are looking for peace. But how can we have peace where we do not have justice? How can we have peace when people feel peeved? How can we have peace when people are discriminated against? How can we have peace when people feel cheated? How can we have peace when the institutions of peace are rather perpetrating injustice? The truth is that there are many actions open to the NDC, as our leader has already said. Courts is not excluded. In fact, indeed, as we speak now, there are a number of actions, for example, in Techiman South, a number of actions that are ongoing. Our lawyers have been there to verify the situation and all that. So it tells you that all actions are available to the NDC, including political actions. And we won't discount any one of them. And definitely court is not out of the question.
Francis Xavier Sosu there, he is an MP-elect for Medina, and that protest happened over the weekend. In Seshirioso today, a protest took place with the NDC protesters calling for the retrieval of a missing ballot box. According to a former Western Regional Minister, Paul Evans-Edu, who is leading the protest, the EC could not have declared the result of the constituency without ascertaining the content of that particular ballot box. The NDC contends that should the ballot box be found and votes counted, the party will win the parliamentary elections in the Seshirioso constituency. Listen to Paul Evans-Edu.
It's a protest march towards the Election Commission. During the voting period, there was a particular ballot box which got missing. It's a parliamentary ballot box which contained voted or thumb-printed ballot papers and many other items. Unfortunately for our party, the box got missing at the Election Commission. At the time that we were bringing the box out, somebody snatched, whether by accident or nobody knows. But the Election Commission was aware, the police and the military, everybody was aware. There was no way that we could say that the box will get missing without any authorization. We realized that it was an intentional act that the Election Commission did with the police and the military. So we are saying that not until that box has been found, nobody will see peace here. Because we cannot just go and declare results for someone without even collecting some facts. If it doesn't yield any results, then we have established the fact that we effect from now, any government that is in power can declare results of parliamentary presidents without coalition. That's what we want to establish. We can declare results without coalition. That's what we want to establish. If the EC is not able to reverse its decision and want to maintain that one, then what we are saying that in future we can also declare results without coalition. And that's exactly what we are doing.
Mr. Edu there, well, some of the supporters of the NDC who participated in this protest have been speaking to us.
We're going to do it till. I hope you get me. They know what we want, and then we're going to seek for that. We are going to seek for it, and then they know what if they give to us, we're going to get down coolly and then settle matters. They should give us our victory. That's all we just give them for. That's it.
We need the missing ballot.
The missing ballot is going to be found today. I don't know whether it's handled. We know it's with the EC. We gave it to an EC official and then a police officer, an armed police officer. So how come it can be found? We need it.
The parliamentary election, and this we won the election. But here is the case: from Asarisu to Seshirioso here, it's not a small place, but the missing ballot box from Asarisu up to EC office, police officers are there, military officers are there. So how come the ballot box is missing? So we need a missing ballot box, or there will be no peace at Seshirioso.
Because the two of them Dr. Kofi, you can't walk around and you never come here. You are not here at the pro,
Well, that's not all. A similar protest was held in Kumasi today. The women's wing of the National Democratic Congress there said they will risk everything to see the flag bearer declared president-elect. According to them, last week's polls were rigged in favor of the incumbent party. Like I said, the EC has rejected those claims. They say no intimidation from security services as they see it will make them rescind their decision. Their national women organizer, Hannah Bisu, was among the demonstrators as they took to the streets of Kumasi. Love FM's Nanayao Jima joins us with more. Hello, Nanayao. Nanayao, yes. Do tell us how it went today.
So the protest started at the regional office of the National Democratic Congress, which is at Emekum, and that is where the members of the women's wing of the National Democratic Congress gathered in Ashanti region, and they went through the principal streets of Kumasi, protesting against the results declared by the Electoral Commission, and the chant was "No Mahama, no peace." And according to them, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, has to be declared president-elect before they bring these series of protests to an end. And according to these women who took to the streets, they believe that the former president, John Dramani Mahama, is the right winner of the election, and therefore the election was rigged in favor of the incumbent New Patriotic Party led by Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. So the whole protest was to drum home these demands that the EC will have to rescind its decision.
Nanaya, hang on for me. Let me bring in the National Youth Organizer for the NDC, George Opariado. He actually signed a statement that announced a nationwide protest. Mr. Opariado, thank you for your time. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Opariado, I do hear you. I hope you do too.
I can hear you. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for your time. So we were just looking at some of the protests that have gone on. We've been to Seshuri also, we've been to Ashaiman, Medina, and also we've been to Kumasi, which happened today. How long are these protests going to go on? Since you signed a statement announcing there will be nationwide protests, do you have a time frame within which you're looking to stop?
This is just the beginning of many more protests we are going to stage until victory and justice is served. What we've said and what we are calling on the Electoral Commission to do is to make sure the rightful results are declared so that Ghanaians who went to the polls, over 6 million Ghanaians who went to the polls, will have their votes counted, and that is all we are demanding. All we are saying is that the Electoral Commissioner has been inconsistent with the number of results she's declared in the last 6 days or so ever since elections were held. And we are demanding that the right results should be declared for the good people of this country. Until that is done, we'll continue to protest and make sure our voices are heard loud and clear.
Now, if I'll just point this out to you, that the result did not, was not misannounced. It was the number of total votes and valid votes cast. That's what the EC says. It says that it did not miscalculate the details of the result for any of the two candidates we're talking about here, and that the mistake or the slip occurred with the total valid votes cast.
See, I believe you have people in your studios who can do simple arithmetic and mathematics. Let them take the figures that was announced by the EC on the 9th of December 2020. Just suppose that with the figures that came out on the 10th of December 2020 and find out whether you arrive at the same percentage. I can confidently tell you, based on the mathematics we've done, based on the calculations we've done, when you take the two figures, you will definitely not arrive at the 51% that was declared for His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. Those are the inaccuracies we are speaking to, and those are the things we need clarity on. Today, if the Electoral Commissioner decides to gazette the results, which of the declaration figures is she going to gazette? Is it the one that was declared on the 9th, or is it the one that was declared on the 1st? Mind you, we work within a certain legal framework. The law is that the Electoral Commission can only declare the results once. If she intends to make any amendments to that declaration, it is only a court of competent jurisdiction that can make those pronouncements. That has not happened. So all we are saying is that the results that have been declared by the Electoral Commission is inaccurate, it's not right, it is not a reflection of what the people voted for, and we demand that the right thing is done. We are not calling for too much. If you look at PI 127, the law requires and mandates the Electoral Commissioner to declare the results based on constituency. That is not what happened on the 9th of December. The coalition was not done based on constituencies. Rather, we were introduced to an unorthodox system that we are not used to, declaring results based on regional level. That is not a procedure. PI 127 from 10, from 11, prescribes and describes how results are supposed to be declared. All we are demanding for Jim Mensah and her-led Electoral Commission is to do the right thing. Let's take the parliamentary seat, for instance. Look at what happened in Seshioso. In Seshioso, one polling station did not have their results counted. How do you declare results minus one polling station when the elections are so close? And that polling station, the presidential elections, President John Dramani Mahama won. So there is every probability and possibility that Honorable Evans Edu would have won that parliamentary election in that constituency. He went ahead to declare the result. When the box was in the custody of the Electoral Commission, you are telling us that the box is missing. When there was a police guard, who was with the box? Who stole the box? Who took the box? And where is the box? You declare results minus that box. We have all our collated PCs for the Chiman South, and it points to an NDC victory.
So it brings me to the...
Claim you declared results in the Chiman South. As I speak to you, the results were declared without the representative of the NDC. We went asking for even a copy of the declaration form. The EC is refusing to give it to us. Everybody in this country, including people from your studio, knows that something untoward went on with this election. All we are demanding is justice.
So I bring you back to the issue you just raised about what your pink sheets show you have as against what you believe the EC has done. People have said, in fact, very respectable persons in society have said that if you do have these figures, or if you do have the evidence, as you say, you will do a lot of Ghanaians, or you do Ghanaians a lot of good if you put the evidence out there for everybody to be able to appreciate the concerns you're raising. Is that an option you're going to do as you organize the protest?
At the appropriate time, we'll put out the figures. But I believe that the ordinary Ghanaian cannot give us what we want. Our figures will be brought before a court of competent jurisdiction, where adjudication will take place.
So when are you going to courts to do that?
At the right time. We are still within the remit of the law. There is time. There is no lapses within the law. And I believe that the law gives us 21 days from declaration. Now my question is, when does the 21 days start? Does it start from the 9th of December, or it starts from the 10th of December, when the Electoral Commissioner came back to amend the results?
Let's come back to the protest, Mr. Pariado. Now, the protests are ongoing. If you are going to court, as you said, why do you encourage these protests?
Safety. Protests are legitimate ways. They are legitimate means of also expressing your misgivings, and the law permits you to protest. It is not against the law to protest. Okay. Both actions can take place concurrently, and there is nothing wrong with it. So as much as we will explore the legal option, we still have the right to protest, and we need to vent so that people get to know the exact things that happen, the inadequacies in the electoral system, so that the Electoral Commissioner is exposed, and then her credibility is brought to question. So as a protest, there is nothing wrong with us protesting.
What comes on the back of protests, by the way, is that sometimes they all don't go peacefully. Is there a plan by the party to ensure that this nationwide protest, if I could just land with my question, that not all of them go peacefully. So the question I was asking Mr. Pariado is whether or not there is since you announced it, that there is a plan to make sure that it is done within the remit of the law.
I believe that this is not the first time we are protesting. Today, we had a protest in Seshioso. We had one in Ashanti region. I believe that it went off, it passed off without any incident. We protested against the voter register. It went off without any incident. We are a responsible political party, and we don't intend to protest and cause destruction to human life and property. We are responsible. All we are saying is that the police and then the military should also act responsibly. 5 innocent lives have been lost, and we demand answers for that as well.
Okay.
Our protest will continue, but it will continue within the remit of the law.
Are the police notified before these protests happen?
As to whether they are notified, I believe if served notice enough that we'll be protesting. So I believe that is enough. The Public Order Act, I'm a lawyer. What the law says is that they should be given notice. Once we've notified them that we'll be protesting and we've served notice, after the right time, we will go ahead and do our protest.
I'm asking that question because just today there was a statement from the police that says they're seeing a lot of sporadic demonstrations.
We've not acted within the law. They have the right to act. We believe we are within the law. We've acted within the law, and I don't see anything wrong.
Okay, I was saying that my question was on the back of the statement by the police that they're seeing a lot of these demonstrations happen sporadically. It looks as if they haven't been getting the notification. Is this something that your checks show to the contrary?
I'm saying that if the police think we've not acted within the confines of the law, they are at liberty to act. To me, to the best of my knowledge, we've acted within the law. And if the police think otherwise, they are at liberty to do what they feel is right for them.
When next do you go on another, or do any of your supporters go on another protest?
I'm not sure I'm going to put that out. But what we are telling you is that after tomorrow, if the Electoral Commission refuses to act, we will continue to be in the streets.
And by acting, you want them to?
We want them to declare the results of Techiman South, Senate West, also, and make sure the right things are done.
I say a very big thanks to you, sir, for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
That's the National Youth Organizer for the NDC, George Opariado. He signed that protest, statement that indicated that there will be protest nationwide. Well, the Ghana Police Service, as I indicated earlier today, has released a statement expressing concerns about the lack of adherence to the Public Order Act. According to the police, most of the protests are without recourse to the law, which mandates such protesters to inform the police ahead of such actions. Here is Police Public Affairs Director Sheila Abeye-Bachman.
Has noticed with concern the disregard for the Public Order Act when people want to go on procession or demonstration or such special events. And so we are calling on organizers and participants of demonstrations and such special events to give due regard to the Public Order Act, which requires that they give notice to police at least 5 days before holding the event. And we want to remind them that failure to do so amounts to an offense which can lead to various penalties, including imprisonment. Also, if any crimes are committed in the course of such unlawful demonstrations, all participants are jointly responsible for the crimes. But as we remind them, we also want to assure the public that measures have been put in place to contain such unlawful demonstrations. We have had to close some roads and do diversions and impress on some facilities to close for the safety of human lives and properties. We regret such actions, but we ask the public to bear with us because all these measures are for the protection of lives and property and for our general safety.
Sheila Abeye-Bachman there speaking for the police. She's Director of Police Public Affairs. Now, the government must show leadership by going after perpetrators of violence in the just-ended elections. This is according to the Executive Director of West Africa Network for Peace Building, WANEP. He said it will give assurance to feuding parties if that is done. In a post-election analysis on the AM show with Mamavio Uswabwaji, Dr. Eze said government credibility hinges on its ability to decisively deal with the people involved. He's also asking aggrieved politicians to seek redress at the court to stem the brewing tension.
It is extremely important. It also adds or removes credibility in the administration. It is important to give, because it gives confidence to the electorate and the citizens that impunity cannot be allowed to thrive, and that if you kill under any guise and without due process, then you have to answer for it. whether it is the security agents or citizens killing one another, I think it's important to find the cure and also find redress in a court of law and bring those who are the perpetrators to book, and also reassure not just the victim's family, but also other citizens that we don't live in Banana Republic where you can do anything and get away with it. It is very important.
There are many calling on the NDC to seek redress in court, but indeed, if you speak to the NDC, they would also tell you that the protests, the many ways that they are also seeking to express their disappointment with the results of the 2020 elections are also legitimate. I mean, it's their legal rights. You can protest, you can go in a march like they've been doing. And so the court is not the only place where they can absolutely resolve their issues. As a security person, and as you've been analyzing a lot of security matters, particularly this one linked with elections directly, what do you make of the fact that what they're doing is also legitimately right?
I think it's important to, first of all, acknowledge that it is within the rights of NDC to have peaceful protests. It is also important to acknowledge that when they feel that they are hurt, they need to be allowed to express themselves in the most peaceful manner that they can. However, it is also important that NDC also begin to appreciate what is at stake at the moment. Those protests within the context of a global pandemic, within the context of already charged environment, how do they resolve the issues at hand? Or will they need to sit down and reflect whether the protests at the end of the day will yield the results that they seek for and also enthrone peace in the country they love so much and actually wanted to govern. So that's a way to balance it, but to obviously acknowledge that it is within their rights to express themselves in a manner that they feel they will be heard. If they feel that they have not been fairly treated in an election, it is within their rights.
What's been the experience on the continent? Can we still follow through with peaceful marches and protests in resolving this matter?
Well, again, at the end of the day, because I'm a professional mediator, at the end of the day, I'll go for sitting around the table. And also to acknowledge that people should also appreciate that within the continuum of dispute resolution mechanisms, that the court system is part of it. Also, other alternative mechanisms are also part of it. And I'm sure that we have very credible, very independent minds that can engage all parties, all sides, and find lasting solutions to this. I think the most important thing is that the NDC want to be heard. But I also think that the other thing to acknowledge is that it looks to me like the MPP or the government in power is also ready to listen. And once this is established, then it makes even the mediation much, much easier. The other thing is to also establish the parameters under which such dialogue will take place. And more importantly, to assure all parties of the credibility of the process, whether it is the court system they are using, what are the fears that they express about not using the courts? If it is the good offices of some of this independent mind that I've talked about, how are they assured, all parties are assured of the credibility of the process and also the ability to implement the outcome? I think if you look at some of these fears that have been expressed, they have to do with distrust, and some of those elements are not things that we can ignore.
Chukwemeka Eze there speaking with Mamavia Uswabwaje earlier on the AM show. This is the pulse with me, Gifty and up here. I'm going to take a very quick break. You saw here former President John Mahama talking about what will happen for him to concede defeat after the elections. We'll also tell you about the Public Universities Bill as it returns to the floor for passage. But university teachers continue to protest. We'll have more details when we return from this break. Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, Parliament's Education Committee has recommended that the House approves the controversial Public University Bill 2020. Various teacher unions, including UTAG, have kicked against the bill, warning it will give the government unfettered control over university administrators. The bill is expected to undergo second reading today, during which MPs will debate the principles of the bill. Here is how it went down in Parliament as Minority Leader and Education Minister debated the issue.
UTAG, University Teachers Association of Ghana, and I'm sure Mr. Speaker's office have been copied, First Deputy Speaker, Majority Leader, Minister for Education, and it reads, University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, request for information on the status of the Public University Bill, and it reads in part, while waiting to be consulted, we have read news reports that indicate that the bill is to be brought before Parliament when it reconvenes on 14 December 2020. Indeed, a Ghana web story caption, relay PUP, Public University Bill to Parliament without consultation worrying, unquote. Signed Dr. Samuel Nkupa, President UTAG. Mr. Speaker, I also have University of Ghana Graduate Students Association of Ghana, Lagos. Request for stakeholder engagement on review of Public Universities Bill. It's also signed, and I hope that the Hansard will capture it, Adofu Yao Kwachi, Acting President Grasak, Lagos. And it also reads in part, receive a lot of constructive criticism and recommendations. Then, Mr. Speaker, I also have Student Representative Council, University of Ghana, request to join the discussion on Public Universities Bill. Mr. Speaker, so stakeholder consultation is important to the work we do as Parliament. That is why Article 106 requires that we invite public memorandum. These are stakeholders who are affected by the bill, and therefore an assurance from the Minister for Education that they will be thoroughly engaged and a report of the engagement submitted to Parliament. Other than that, we are unable to support this bill. We want the legitimate concerns of university lecturers, teachers, and students in the governance of public universities to be appropriately covered as we proceed further on this bill. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Agree with the Honourable Minority Leader 100% of the essence and the necessity of consultation as he quoted article of our Constitution. Mr. Speaker, all the three letters stem from the University of Ghana. It is not UTAG National that is writing. And the name he mentioned, Samuel, is the president of UTAG, University of Ghana. The current president of UTAG is Professor Charles Marfo of KNUST. So, Speaker, I want to put on record that these three things only came from University of Ghana. 26 public universities who are going to be affected by this bill. So, Speaker, and a thorough consultation. So, Speaker, if you even read the title of the request that we brought, said information on the status. They never said they have not been consulted. So, Speaker, your committee chair and committee members are here. In fact, what caused the relaying is the enormity of the proposals the universities brought. That the committee, I was invited, engaged them, and then they decided that because of the voluminous nature, they are going to incorporate it in the original bill, and then they will come and withdraw and relay the bill so that amendments are minimized. Just because your committee members are here on both sides. So it is not about consultation. The Parliament in its own working did advertise for memorandum. And when I did visit the committee, they had received 38 memoranda, Mr. Speaker. 38. 3-8. And they were all called to the committee to come and testify. Thorough consultation. So, no, I just believe that I'll support the minority leader in saying that those who have brought this, we will invite them. Mr. Speaker, we will invite them. There's nothing to hide in this bill from government. We would invite them, we will listen to them as the committee chairperson, gives a date by the close of this weekend, that meeting should have happened, and we will duly bring a report. But like their protest, it is not about consultation. It is they are requesting for information on the status of the bill. If you read the whole letter, they talk about, thank you,
And that is the Education Minister there. We'll be connecting with Joseph Opoku-Gakpo shortly from Parliament via Zoom. But Professor Charles Mafo is the National President, UTAC, who is joining us right now. So we talk about this before we go to Parliament again. Prof, thank you very much. Now, first, let's take a look at your concerns and whether those issues have been addressed. Before I even come there, the Minister said that your concerns are not really about consultation, and that they are about information on the status.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. I mean, at this point, semantics becomes kind of a game. Whatever it is, UTAC had met the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education earlier. And we had, as he said, extensive deliberations, our concerns, and we were assured that the AG will look at the document, and I'm sure the public has seen UTAC memo to the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education. We were assured that when review has been done and the Select Committee had considered our document, then the document will be sent back for us to peruse. Right? So as we speak, UTAC National was just waiting for such a document until we heard that there's a schedule in Parliament and that the bill is being considered on its way to be passed. And we were flabbergasted, you know, we were surprised, we were disappointed. Because as we speak, we don't know what is in the bill that they are seeking to pass. But if you look at our memo, we have made it clear that the bill in its current state is inimical to academic freedom, and in fact, unconstitutional. Somebody should review such a bill. Let us peruse it, get ourselves satisfied before they can move on to do anything. And so, my dear, as it is now, we don't know what they are going to pass.
Okay.
And obviously, we don't support it.
Okay. You don't know what is going to be passed and you don't support it. Let's take a look at, if you can give me a brief idea of what was in there, that's the specific thing in there that you didn't like or that you thought was unconstitutional and inimical to the country's education system?
We have said it again and again. And again, as I said, our memo to Parliamentary Select Committee on Education is commonplace. Every media house probably have it by now. But one of them I can immediately recall and tell you is the constitution of the Council of the Universities, right? As it is now, the council is populated by government appointees. And so basically they are saying that we should come and run the university from the office of the government of the day. And we have said that that is wrong, right? If any review has been done to that, we should know. We should begin to sensitize our people. Mind you, as we speak, there is a section of our people that are even calling for the trashing of the bill, not to even consider our recommendations. UTAC National has been on the forefront trying to, you know, because knowing that government comes with power and normally they have an agenda and then they want to pass some bills, we take cognizance of that, and so we wanted to own the bill. And that is why we made extensive considerations, recommendations, so that the Parliamentary Select Committee and Parliament itself will consider them. To such an extent that anything that will be at the disadvantage of the running of public universities will be removed from the bill. That is why I said, as it is, we don't know what they are debating about. We don't know which bill Parliament is debating about.
Apart from your
promise, we expect the Parliamentary Select Committee to give us the current status of the bill,
which hasn't been done. So that was what I was coming to. Apart from the Select Committee, have you had any engagement with the ministry? Perhaps the information could have come from there.
Excuse me, there was a break somewhere.
Yeah, I'm asking if you have had any engagement with the ministry itself, apart from the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education.
I must say that we have collaborated very well with the minister in charge. He has always been cooperative until now. And now means that as we speak, we don't know the document they are debating. Okay. But as promised, we were supposed to be given that document. So as we start, if a colleague lecturer asks me of the bill, and in fact, I must put in this, sections of our people are putting across certain document, which was released in 20th February 2020, which is still inimical to our state. And so they are saying that that is the document that is being debated. But we wanted to believe that we had made recommendations to all those things that are still in the document that are flying around. And I must say this, I spoke to the minister. He told me that document that is flying around is not it. And that he will send us the document. We are waiting for that document. And until that, Madam, as you rightly pointed out, we will spend every life in us to keep academic freedom. We will fight it at every point in time.
And that was going to be my last question. You will fight it, and you're obviously fighting it already, but the bill is in Parliament, and it's been debated as we speak. What is your next line of action?
Well, this line of action is what we are probably doing now. They've heard us. It is not passed yet. I can say that the Russians have beaten it, but have not taken it in. They can reconsider their situation. Again, if you revisit our memo to Parliamentary Select Committee, we indicated the various escape routes we can take. That we can go to the Supreme Court. But of course, I know you know UTAC. We have always resorted to our last arsenal. And at this point in the education, where COVID has taken a greater part of the academic calendar, and that we are beginning to even reschedule our times, I don't think anybody wants to commit UTAC into pursuing any course. Again, that will be inimical to the academic calendar. Please, we urge them to listen. The president said there should be broader consultation. That broader consultation must be done. There must not be any hurry to pass any law.
Okay.
Those of us that affect us are speaking, and we believe that government should listen.
Before I let you go, Prof, is there any one good thing about this bill that you can point to?
One good thing about this bill?
Yeah.
Well, if you ask me, I think those that are trying to implement that should be able to tell you. But honestly, to tell you, some people have said that we draw from the same basket, right? And so if a government says that, look, even on your promotion, I want you to be promotion along the same line or system, I don't think that would be bad at all. That is why I said that UTAC did not just reject the bill, despite the fact that a section of our population think we should trash it. We have made recommendations.
And you want to see whether those recommendations have been incorporated?
Yes, I wish you have seen our document.
All right.
We took every clause and dissected it. Everybody should know. Any person will know that we love this nation, we love education, and we want the right things to be done.
Right.
And I say again, let those that have ears listen.
Prof, we say a very big thanks for your time this afternoon, and I'm sure that we will be looking forward to that part of the document which you have that is not available to the rest of the public. Hopefully that will help us appreciate the situation better. Professor Charles Ofosu-Marfo is the National President for University Teachers Association of Ghana. So what does the report of the Education Committee actually say? Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our man on the ground in Parliament. He's joining me right now live to tell us more. Joseph, I've just spoken to UTAC, and they say that they made recommendations, but they don't know whether or not that recommendation they made has been incorporated in what is being debated right now. What can you tell us from there?
We're getting some explanation from the committee that some of the concerns that they had raised earlier are actually being addressed to a certain extent. So, for example, according to the committee, The concern about the president appointing too many members on the university council, they've tried to rectify that a bit. Apart from the institutional representation, the president will only appoint the chairman of the council and 5 others, bringing that figure to 6, and then allowing for a lot of other institutions to appoint various members onto the council, thereby to a certain extent limiting the authority of the president. Again, one thing that we are clearing our minds on is that here in Parliament, there is generally a consensus on both the sides of the majority and the minority that this be passed until the minority leader raised the issue with non-consultation. So, for example, if you read the reports of the Education Committee that came to the House, the committee's report makes the point that the committee is recommending that the House adopt this particular bill. And then the committee goes on to say that they are convinced this bill will actually reform the education sector and improve it for the better. It will further improve admission processes and create equal opportunities for all. And it will also standardize the governance across various academic institutions as far as the university is concerned. As indicated by the minister, the planned meeting that's coming off latest by this weekend is where they're hoping that additional consultation will happen. What the House did today was to go through what they call the second reading of the bill, where they discuss the principles. Now, when the bill actually came to the House, it was referred to the Education Committee. We know that previous versions had come in and withdrawn. The latest version came in sometime in early November, just before the House actually went on its last break. It was referred to the Education Committee. The Education Committee has returned with 3 specific amendments to the bill, apart from which they're recommending that the House goes ahead and approve it. And from what we're hearing from the Education Minister, and particularly the Education Committee, that additional consultation will be done before the end of the week. And then going into next week, they'll return to go ahead and do the necessary amendments to the original documents, after which it will eventually be approved by the House for it to become law going forward.
Now, it is still unclear from what you said, Joseph, whether or not the recommendations made by the UTAG and other stakeholders have actually been incorporated. It's still difficult to tell at this point, isn't it?
The committee insists that a lot of those specific recommendations have actually been incorporated, including putting some form of cap on the number of people who will actually represent on the governing council as far as appointment by the president is concerned. One other concern that came up, which was not specifically addressed, has to do with the fact that there is a recommendation in this particular bill that any time a university wants to go ahead and dispose of a property, or for that matter go for a loan to undertake any property development on the campus, approval needs to be sought from the government of the day. That is something that we know remains in this particular document. And Education Minister Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh has been defending that. We've been engaging him, and his defense of that is that anytime we have situations where any individual or any university goes ahead and contracts a loan and it becomes a bad debt, it's the government that pays. So government actually needs to have a role to a certain extent when some of these loans have been taken. One other concern that had come up, which again the minority, particularly Bernard Ahiafo, who is a lawyer and he serves on the Education Committee, is raising, is that per this latest provision, when the university does something that is wrong, they cannot be sued as a corporate institution. He questions how come the university has been established as a corporate institution, but there is a law barring action being taken against it, either by a staff or a lecturer or any other individual or even outsiders, which he thinks is very much out of place. These are provisions that are remaining in the bill, except that all government is doing is explaining it away and defending the provisions. From what we heard from Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh, the concerns that are coming specifically from the folks at the University Teachers Association of Ghana, at the University of Ghana. And he went on to say there are more than 26 public institutions. All of them have virtually bought into the idea, and that the objection that's coming from one university cannot be a basis for which the bill should be thrown away. But as we're hearing from UTAG now, it appears to be a general consensus. But looks like we will know more when the said consultations happen. In fact, Peter Nochu, who is the ranking on the Education Committee, confirmed that as early as tomorrow, the first batch of consultation is likely to happen right here in Parliament when the Education Committee meets various institutions and stakeholders connected with this bill to begin dotting the I's and crossing the T's as far as their contents are concerned, so that sometime next week they'll go ahead and make the necessary amendments and get it approved, hopefully before Parliament takes its break on December 22.
I just want to find out if anything else happened in Parliament. Certainly, yesterday was one of the most interesting. Hopefully, there's something else to report in terms of how, the dynamics are playing out there right now. What else can you report?
Things are looking a lot more calm. Today, a lot of the minority MPs showed up in Parliament, not exactly wearing black in ordinary attire, although a number of them, including Samuel Ekujetua Blakwa and Ato Forsen, still came clad in their black. But looks like this time around, the heat is dying down a bit. Business of the House commenced some time after midday. The House has been dealing with the insurance bill, which they dealt with some time yesterday as well. The public-private partnership bill has been introduced in the House that they are looking at. And as we speak, the House is still sitting considering various bills, and they would continue sitting going into tomorrow. We've been having a conversation on the sites on the sites of Parliament with some members of Parliament, again in relation to how governance in the House will be going into the next Parliament. Ibrahim Ahmed, who is the MP for Banda, who has won the seat, but we have some agitation against his victory, for example, has been speaking to the media, describing this Parliament as the weakest Parliament virtually in the history of the nation, and him expecting that the 8th Parliament will be a bit more stronger and will do a lot more in terms of putting government on its toes.
Joseph, thank you very much for that update. Interesting details from Parliament. Joseph Opoku Gakpo there, joining us live from Parliament. This is still The Pulse with me, Gifty Ando-Apia. Now, Plan International Ghana, with support from the Girls Education Unit of the Ghana Education Service, has taken an initiative to expose and prepare the minds of young females on the good, bad and ugly part of the internet. This initiative was informed by the findings of the 2020 State of the World's Girl Report by the multi-donor outfit, which indicates girls are often harassed, abused, sexually exploited and driven from spaces on the internet. Some 51 girls from 3 operational districts of Plan International Ghana in the Volta region were selected and camped in Ho for a 3-day training program on the use of the internet. Fred Kwame Asari has more in this report.
As the world is gradually becoming a global village, there has been an increase in the use of the internet for several activities. According to Statista.com, the number of internet users worldwide stood at 4.13 billion in 2019, representing more than half of the world's population. However, as the digital population increases across the globe, so has bullying, harassment, and sexual exploitation of young females in the digital space. This was confirmed by Plan International's 2020 State of the World's Girls Report. Rose Bayou Silo is the Volta Regional Program Unit Manager of Plan International.
This year's report showed that the girls or young people are being harassed, abused, treated unfairly on the media. Harassment is the main thing. You see a girl will post a picture or post a comment, and the way they come back, the responses that are received are not healthy. It discourages the girl. Somebody can even insult. You see body shaming. Just look at a girl and then the comment on the body puts the girl off. The question or something, a contribution that the girl has made, the way they come at her may put her off. Because generally this is the girl for you. Sexual exploitation is very high. You see, you post a picture, they come at you and they use it, deceive them to do all kinds of things.
Due to the increase in maltreatment of females, the multi-donor organization under its Girls Get Equal program trained some 51 young females on the use of the internet space. They also had the opportunity to learn how to write articles on human-related stories and develop curriculum vitae. The Volta Regional Girls Education Officer, Millicent Dake, believes the camp would positively impact the life of the beneficiaries.
And then because parents are not able to monitor and see, there are some parents who don't know their kids have phones, but they are using them. But what we did was, whether you have it or not, or if you will be having it later, this knowledge you've acquired will not leave you. It will still be with you, and then you'll remember that you ever heard that if you have a phone and you take a picture of yourself nude, it will be there forever. If you know that, I don't think those who put nude pictures there, some of them, if they knew it would be there forever, they wouldn't do. But some people think that once, it's just like you deleting something, once you delete, they think it's deleted, but the thing is there. So we want to let them have the knowledge so that if they get the opportunity to use a phone, they know that if you are using a phone, this is right, this is not right.
The camp prefect, Rosalind Kabu Akosua, who was excited about participating in the training, indicated she is now better informed on the use of the internet.
I like to go back to my school and my community and then teach my fellow friends, especially the girls, to also do same. I use WhatsApp, but I don't know the very interesting aspects of it. I like to use that WhatsApp platform for learning, educating things, and then I would like to share with my friends, not to just use the WhatsApp for pictures, videos, and unnecessary things. They'll use them to do interesting and educative things that will help them for us to become great leaders in future.
Fred Kwame Asai, Joy News. Ho.
And we'll be returning to election-related issues right after this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. I appreciate you staying with us. Now, while the December 7 polls has largely been described by election observers as peaceful, it also represents the darkest moment for some families this year. You know, 5 people lost their lives in the course of the polls. This morning, this afternoon, I should say, we take you to Ododo constituency here in Accra, one of the traditional electoral hotspots. JoyNews' Ernest Menu, who covered that constituency, went back there and now brings us the story of a family of 7 that lost its breadwinner.
The Ododo constituency is one of the major flashpoints in the capital, with over 58 hotspots and violent clashes ahead of the 2020 polls. It was the expectation of security analysts that security will be beefed up to avert or control violence. Unfortunately, 2 people died before the final declaration of results. So we're here at Abola, a community in the Ododo constituency. As you can see behind me there, that is a banner of one of them, a young man, 36 years old, Emmanuel Dompre, who lost his life. From what we understand, he was an agent for the opposition NDC and lost his life in the process. We'll speak to people who were with him in his last moment. They will tell us exactly what happened.
I'm George Sampa.
Okay, and you were with him when the incident happened?
Right, I'm with him right there.
Okay, tell us, so what exactly happened?
But we were there as soon as the polls ended. So the MPP were jubilating. They said they found the parliamentary seat over in Ododo. Okay. So we were all there at the hotel when they sent up. So they started jubilating and started doing their jama.
And this is the hotel where the shooting happened?
Modek Hotel, okay, at Koloko. Okay. Okay. So we were there and on the MPP jama. They come along with bottles, plastic, stones, and crates, mineral crates. So we were there with the Emmanuel Dompre, our brother, who was just demise. So we run away, but we don't know where our brother passed before he met his untimely death.
What kind of person was he?
Oh, he was a cool guy. He was a cool, soft boy.
And what was he doing for a living?
Oh, he worked at post office.
I meet two of his brothers. Atakwa tells me how he received the news.
So he is a brother, and he's telling me that he's the eldest of them. There are 7 brothers, and he heard the news when he went to Choko. He received a phone call and was told that the brother had been shot. When he came home, he didn't find anybody home, so he followed to the hospital, which is the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and that was where the death of his brother was confirmed.
The brothers tell me the family is deeply affected by the death of Emmanuel Dompre. They will miss him.
Ake enye ne ila kunyile ake enye ni chokwe twale shi enye na de san twale tu ne gbo wo ke inu egba na wa we di poke na ake tu poka iko po egba na ake na nyemi ake atwale tu egbo
wo ku efe yoyo wo ku efe mi sha me ake obra nu pa ni ebe wale je ne ebe wale ke ebe wale na egbo e no le wo ku efe mi po asha go me ni lani ebe ni egbo she nye na ninu Trukano na twale tu ne do no wo fe woni no komi eto ejakeleji wo yin no kamo leji wo mami leji wo papa wo mami do leji le fe no ha o wo go yin fun wo papa no sile no ji wo papa no woni no komi ne ke fe eto.
And he tells me that they are very much affected by his death because he is the breadwinner for the family. He does everything for the family. He's the firstborn, and they lost their mother many years ago, and so he is the one who takes care of the family.
Emmanuel left behind a wife and a daughter who is only 2 years. Ernest Menu's report for JoyNews.
The Ejura-Dumasi constituency in the Ashanti region was classified among key flashpoints in the run-up to the December 7 election. Unlike previous elections, however, the area recorded a peaceful polling process. Residents are excited at the new face of politics of tolerance, spearheaded by the youth, political parties and opinion leaders in the area. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin visited the town and has this report.
Even before the December 7th election, some skirmishes were recorded in the Ejura-Dumasi constituency. The Member of Parliament for the area, Bawa Brema Mohammed, was attacked by some unidentified persons, raising concerns about the safety of ordinary people. Traditional leaders joined hands with the youth, political parties and other interest groups to campaign for peace in the electioneering. The youth were mobilized to move from door to door, information centers and community-based radio stations to campaign for peace. This seems to have paid off. Residents are excited of violence-free election.
Best of my knowledge, I can attest to the fact that this is the first time I would say we have witnessed a very violent-free election in our constituency. And I think the credit goes to Ejura for peaceful election and our leaders for adhering to our cry.
Excited, we feel happy, and it went smoothly without any violence and we are very happy with that. Okay, first of all, since our leaders in Ejura-Dumasi are very responsible people, always they encourage the youth to stay away from violence and the rest. But hopefully, the way we ended this one successfully, I know heading will do it as we needed it.
This year's election has been calm in Ejura. All the parties spoke to their supporters to be calm, and they were able to maintain peace.
The incumbent Member of Parliament, Bawa Mohammed, retained the seat for the opposition NDC. According to the residents, the professionalisms exhibited by political parties led to the town's first peaceful election in many years.
And therefore, going forward, I think the best thing we can do to sustain this peaceful election we had is to have a lot of education. We have to educate our constituents on how to, have a peaceful election even after the declaration of the results.
We should all be united and uphold the spirit of love and unity, and there would not be violence. But if there is disunity and misunderstanding, it will lead to violence again.
They want the peaceful atmosphere to reign to help in rebuilding the once beautiful and united agricultural town in the Ashanti region. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Now the elections are over and some successful candidates have been sharing their experience with us. For a good number of them, 2020 has been tough and fierce. For the Member of Parliament elect for Banda constituency in the Bono region, Ahmed Ibrahim, this year's general election has been the most difficult for him because, unlike him, his opponent got support from the entire government machinery, as he put it, to compete with him. He spoke to JoyNews' Nesta Ajama at Banda Hinkro in the Bono region after he emerged victorious as MP-elect for the constituency.
Ahmed Ibrahim says several forces fought against him for the Banda seat this year.
I was the only constituency in the region being held by the opposition, and I hold a strategic position in parliament. So all forces came against me. You can imagine a government who left even his strongholds and was constructing your road. So, I will use this road to unseat the incumbent MP. So even the government left the major roads in his own strongholds and has lost those areas, and was constructing the orphan one so that he will win this one to go and be added. That was the government strategy. And I'm coming from opposition. Don't forget, they said if they won Banda and lost even 5 seats in the Bono region, they like it. And that was their formula. And Buidan is also here. That was also greatly used against me. Stars were campaigning, programs were being organized against me, monies were being given to my opponents to campaign against me, and being from opposition, I could not even give 50 Ghana, 20 Ghana, or 100 Ghana. So if you look at the votes in Banda, the strategy of my opponents and the government was that they will use resources to take it from me. They brought about 100 motorbikes. I couldn't afford to buy even one. They brought about 200 sewing machines. I could buy only about 70 or so. Every household was given 1 cloth, 2 million, 1 cloth, 2 million, 1 cloth, 2 million. People took the money and went and voted against them.
According to Ahmed Ibrahim, even though his contender committed more resources to the election, the people rejected him.
There were a lot of skirt and blouses. People didn't like my opponent, but he was being imposed with resources on them. That is why if you look at even the presidential, we lost the presidential.
Now, a report from the Banda constituency. Now, away from that, a group calling itself the Voter Protection Alliance is today joining calls for the conduct of an independent audit of the result from the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. At a press conference earlier today, the group argued that the mathematical errors made by the Electoral Commission in the declaration of the result brings into question the integrity of the polls. Mr. Thompson is convener of the group and joins me in studio for more. Mr. Thompson, welcome, and thank you very much for your time. Now, you seem to be echoing a concern that Mr. Mahama has raised. You're calling for an audit of the election results. How exactly do you envisage this will be done?
Thank you very much. Very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. And first of all, I would like us to not make this conversation the usual NPP, NDC conversations, because these the electoral discrepancies that has characterized these elections goes to the core of our democracy and the core of our elections. And I think that not just the key stakeholders, which is the political parties, but it's important that civil actors like ourselves and other well-meaning Ghanaians also joins the call so that we make it a Ghanaian problem. Because at the end of the day, this goes to the heart of our democracy.
It is good to make it a Ghanaian problem, but I just need to put this in that when, I mean, you have made you have made a certain pronouncement, and you have made your organization has made certain pronouncement that clearly puts you to a particular side of the debate. So we can make it we should and we can and we should make it a Ghanaian problem. But I'm just adding that, just putting that in there so that it's not as if someone is deliberately making it a political issue, because no matter how we look at it, it is a political issue. But certainly, let's make it a Ghanaian issue. So back to the issue, how exactly do you intend that this forensic audit will be done?
Well, based on independent verifications we have done, we believe that the discrepancies in these elections happened in two forms. A first layer of discrepancy happened at the coalition centers of the constituencies where polling station results were collated. And we believe that during the collation, probably because of tired hands, because electoral officers have been sitting down for overnight, probably due to fatigue and other things, or due to one reason or the other, a number of discrepancies were recorded there, and that affected the entire results that was churned out from the constituency coalition centers. A second layer of discrepancy was also seen at the regional coalition centers where all the constituency coalition centers were collated. Mind you, the constituency coalition centers were introduced for the first time these elections. And usually when the results happen, they are collated at the constituency level and they are faxed straight to the national coalition room and they are put together. This time around, a second layer of certification was introduced, which is the regional coalition centers, where all the constituency results for the region were converged at a regional coalition room and collated. And that's where we believe another set of discrepancies occurred, which affected the general outcome of the elections. And so if this problem is going to be corrected, we believe that election is not about coalition of results. Election is about the ballots that people have voted for and counted at the polling center. And so it's easier for us, just 38,000 polling stations. It is easy for us to take each polling station results one after the other. Microsoft Excel, within 6 hours, will be able to collate all the 38,000 results and know who won these elections and who lost, and we can all move on.
Okay, so that's how you intend for the forensic audit you talk about to take place, that we take polling stations one after the results from each polling station one after the other, key it in an Excel sheet, and it should give us a complete figure.
Of course.
Across the country.
The country has 38,000 polling stations, and we know that results are counted at the polling station and declared in the full glare of the public. So, these are results the public are fully aware of, and so there's no way anybody can say, can change it. They are counted and declared in the full glare of the public.
Of course, some are being contested, so it's not like everything has been declared.
No, of course, parties have the right to contest results at the polling centers, but I'm saying that the results are declared for everybody to know at the polling center what the results are. And so perhaps a national telecast, live on TV, Excel sheets are put together, polling station by polling station. This is NPP's votes, this is NDC's vote, this is independent candidates' votes, this is PNC's vote, this is whoever's vote.
That's what
within
you want
6.
That. So why
these things, you'll know who
there are people who have said that if, and of course it's the NDC that is contesting the election results, why wouldn't they go to court? Is this a position that your alliance supports for the party that's contesting the election results to go to court and present the evidence that it has?
Well, again, I don't think it is only the NDC that must raise issue with what has happened. I think that we must all take interest in what is happening. Secondly, I think I have a problem with how we are making the court looks like the only medium through which these issues can address. The Constitution of the Republic of Ghana provides several mediums within which when people have grievances, those grievances they can use to seek redress. One of them is civil protest. It's enshrined within the Constitution, it's within the rights of the people to to civil protest.
So I don't know that, and because I've run out of time, what I wanted to find out is whether that's a position that your alliance support.
Of course, we support all aggrieved parties to use all mediums, not just the court.
Okay.
All mediums available within the full ambit of the law to seek redress. But I think there's a fundamental point that we need to
wrap up on that for me.
Okay, so I'll wrap up briefly. You see, I think we had this conversation earlier before the elections. When the Electoral Commission came out to say that they were going to declare results in 24 hours, again, we raised concerns about it. We thought that what was really the rush for the commission to say they're going to declare results within 24 hours. Right. The Supreme Court then later, before the elections, came to compound our problems by saying that they are giving the court, they are going to give the aggrieved parties 7 days to file a case if they are aggrieved by the outcome of the elections. Article 64 of our Constitution, 64(1) clearly gives. Yes, I'm wrapping on that. Gives 21 days for parties who are aggrieved to go to court. And then the Supreme Court said they are going to use 42 days to adjudicate on a matter which is not even before them. Now, when these things happen, it clearly undermines the confidence any aggrieved party would have in the Supreme Court or in the court to want to use those mediums for redress. Because at the end of the day, the Constitution talks about 21 days. Okay. The Supreme Court comes to tell the parties that it's going to give them just 7 days. So why would the Supreme Court come to provide a provision which is totally in conflict with? So
you answered my question. You align with that position.
No, of course, but they should go to court. I totally. But other avenues. But I'm saying that don't mind about the posture of the Supreme Court alone has not instilled that confidence for people to want to use it to seek redress. Okay, I get that point now. Thank you very much. Mensa Thompson is the convener of the Voter Protection Alliance, right? Voter Protection Alliance there. The point is that there has to be a forensic audit of the election result. Now, talking about that, the NDC's presidential candidate himself, John Dramani Mahama, says he will concede defeat if a forensic audit into the result proves that he lost the elections. Mr. Mahama and the NDC have consistently rejected the result announced by the EC, citing widespread irregularities in the presidential and parliamentary votes. Of course, the EC has also rejected that position. Mr. Mahama has been speaking to the U.S. radio network Voice of America. According to the NDC, their analysis of the pink sheets available to them shows clearly that Mr. Mahama won the elections.
In the run-up to the election, there were a lot of flaws in the process, and we kept drawing attention to them. And it's like the Electoral Commission was adamant to our call, but on election day, we saw exactly what happened. This is the most incompetent election we've had. I mean, everything about this election does not reach the standard that Ghana's Electoral Commission has attained for itself. Ghana's Electoral Commission is held in high esteem as one of the best electoral commissions. Unfortunately, this election, she can't even get the results right. The declaration is all over the place.
Mr. President, I saw your press conference where you rejected the result. So with this rejection, what are you going to do to make your case to the people of Ghana? Since you said they voted for you, how are you going to convince them that you won the election?
Well, we know we did, and we are currently doing a forensic audit of all the constituencies. First, to establish what happened there, and then secondly, to reconfirm the figures that we have. Because this case might end up in court, I don't know. I cannot mention anything for now, but we're doing an audit, and based on that, we'll take whatever decision we need to take. But I think that the incompetence the EC has shown, it will be useful for us to do a forensic audit of the EC's own systems and the numbers to come to what the final number for the EC is. Because as of now, I don't know what number they're going to gazette.
This afternoon, the NPP has also been holding a press conference at which they accused the NDC of lying about the rigging claims. General Secretary John Boydu addressed the conference a while ago.
There's absolutely no doubts in anybody's mind that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo won the 2020 poll emphatically and without doubt. No amount of whining can change that. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, it is important to state that John Dramani Mahama had from the onset declared his intention to reject the result of the election. He has impugned the integrity of the EC since the beginning of the year and signaled his unwillingness to accept the results of the poll. So we all know that he is playing according to a script. And we know that the purpose of his effusions is to cut the sympathy of the NDC to put him up again as their presidential candidate in 2024. Well, it is entirely up to him. He said in 2016 that it is elementary politics. They are losing an election to seek to impugn the integrity of the EC. That's what he said in 2012. That when people are losing elections, then they start to impugn the integrity of the Electoral Commission. I don't know what he's doing now. It's exactly the same thing that he's doing. But what is strange is the unwillingness of candidate Mahama to go to appropriate forum to make his case. For why, in spite of scoring a poor 47.3% of the vote, he should be handed over the presidency. His logic beggars belief. That is his logic. The presidency is not his exclusive right to own.
John Boydude, who addressed a press conference which ended a while ago. This is still The Pulse with me, Gifty Pia. Gary L. Smith is standing by with sports on The Pulse.
After all the controversy involving the politics, there's controversy of another sort. And it's in football. And it's in the naming of the dream team or the best 11 of all time. Welcome to the Sport on Pulse. I'm Gary L. Smith, and France Football have waded into the controversy again. It's never easy. Even if I told you to list the best 3 players in your home, people are not going to believe or going to agree with your list, no matter how good it is. Now, consider the fact that Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldinho, and Iniesta are not in the first 11-man squad for the greatest players in the game of football. 140 journalists from across the world were given the task of naming this list, and it wasn't easy. But these 3 players were not there. Also, of note for us in Africa was that there was no African player named in the 11-man squad. Eric Kwampafo is my colleague, and we'll look at this momentarily to give us a sense of why there's so much outrage, and even if there should be outrage. Eriku, thank you very much for your time, and good afternoon.
Hi, Gary.
Yeah, so you saw the furore. I mean, it's as most things do these days. It started on Twitter, with a whole group of people angry at the fact that the players we've listed on the screen did not make it into the first 11. And then there was a second first 11 and a third first 11. Samuel Eto'o could not get into any of them.
That's very interesting. And I see the last name on the screen, Iniesta, and he didn't even make the first 2 teams. He ended up having to suffice for the third team. And even in the third team, he had to be played out of position. So it does give you an idea of the amount of competition in there. And I know you mentioned Samuel Eto'o also not being there, but I'll come back to that slightly later. But if you look at the first team, I think, you can see it on your screen right now. The mere fact that you have Maradona and Pelé, 2 of the greatest players from the 20th century, playing as wing-backs, not in their favorite role, should give you an idea of how competitive this list is. And you can clearly see that the list wouldn't make sense without Ronaldinho and Messi, obviously, because the 140 journalists are voting with some form of recency bias.
You mean Ronaldo and Messi? Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah, Ronaldo and Messi certainly would pose some recency bias, because I think that they're the 2 greatest players that we've seen in our era. So they had to be there. I think the real controversy comes in at Xavi Sport, because we know someone like Lothar Matthäus, he redefined that midfield role and really started out that box-to-box midfield role, winning the Ballon d'Or in 1990, best player at the World Cup in 1991, scoring over 160 goals from midfield. So he really redefined a role, and he has a place in history. Maradona calls him, the late Maradona calls him the greatest rival he's ever faced. Pele listed Mateus in his, FIFA 100 players of the best living legends. And so he, I think, is justified. A lot of people had problems with Xavi and thought that perhaps, Zidane or Iniesta or maybe a high-scoring midfielder. I had shouts for Scholes and Lampard and the likes, just because Xavi doesn't have the numbers attached to his game. But you can also make a case for him. But look, it's really difficult. The mere fact that they chose a 3-4-3 formation and put players out of position should tell you this was a very arduous task.
Great. So now let's come to Africa. Let's come back home. What did we do to deserve this, Oreku?
It's a bit disappointing, when you look at 3 separate lists of starting 11s. At least you'd expect one African player in there. But it's not a question of race; it's a question of merit. And what we should be asking ourselves is which African player should really be putting the foot forward for the whole continent. What quickly comes to mind is maybe George Weah, who won the Ballon d'Or. And then we have Samuel Eto'o and Didier Drogba, who really dominated Europe, winning the Champions League. Eto'o winning the treble twice with 2 different teams, the only player to do that. So I look at these 3 players, and they're all strikers, all forward players. For Messi and Ronaldo, their positions are quite, set in stone. So I would give a little bit of slack there. But I look at Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo, and did Eto'o really do enough in his career to be ranked higher than Ronaldo? I don't think so. Ronaldo was a phenomenon, and he was a different breed of a player. And you look at, even in the other list, Thierry Henry had to be shifted wide. The likes of George Best, Garinka, and it's so many talented players in there that you cannot really blame, the fact that there's no Africa. It doesn't really show that there is lack of talent here, because even at the front line in the second team, you have Johan Cruyff and Ronaldinho and all that. So it's not. I don't think we should make a big deal out of it. If there was a 4 team, there might have been some
Africans in there. Many thanks, Oreku, for your time and trying to make sense of it. You can tell that some of the things are not landing, but yeah, that is the nature of arguments like this. If we ask you to name the greatest Ghanaian players of all time, and we give you even 4 lists, we are going to have arguments about that. Thank you very much. No arguments about the fact that it's been good having you on the Pulse Sports. I'm Gary Al Smith. I will be back later for News Prime.
And Christmas came early for some mothers and children on admission at the North Legon Hospital as pharmaceutical company M-Pharma refurbished the mother and children's ward. The ward is meant to serve low-income earning families, providing them with quality health care that suits their pocket. Managing Director of M-Pharma, Johnny Alote, says the gestures form part of the company's resolve to deliver quality yet affordable health care to its clientele.
Tenets of M-Pharma is to make health affordable, and not just affordable, but also accessible to everybody. And we realized that we wanted to give something back to a setting that we have been doing business with, and we wanted it to be such a setting where others who were in the lower categories of the economy could actually access health. And so we renovated that particular ward, which is going to be for mothers, children, and destitute, and people of lower economic class. It costs us a bit of money, but for us, it's not the money per se, it's the impact which we thought was going to be far felt by the kind of people who would benefit from this Christmas gift which we are offering the hospital. We intend to carry on this going forward. Looking around, there were a few other things which I had in mind, which we as a company will be putting in place to ensure that we upgrade this ward periodically to make it one of the best wards here.
Now, applauding management of M-Pharma for the gesture, administrator at the North Legon Hospital, Ifwa Okujeto, urged corporate Ghana to follow the example.
Business has been very good, I'm sure, on both sides. For my side, I can say it's been excellent since they came on board. This year, they decided to go one step further to help with a ward. They asked, what did I want for all the partnership, all the business we've been through for the 3 years, something we want to give back. One, to society, and then secondly, obviously, to the hospital for the partnership that has grown over the years. So I said, oh, we are looking to, have a ward refurbished where those who are of low income can enjoy what the high income also enjoy, and then the mothers and children can get something to also, a comfortable place to recuperate when they are.
Certainly a move worth applauding. And are you interested in learning about the impact of cloud on your business? Then join the Invest for Jobs on Joy FM Facebook page on the 16th of December. You want to make a date with us on the 16th of December on our Facebook page. And that's it for me for now. There is more news at myjoyonline.com. If you do log on, my name is Gifty Ando Apia.